Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8 garden. And today we had a ton of rain, which kind of threw my plans off. So instead I am inside and I want to talk to you all about my plans for my fall garden over the next few weeks. Okay, so we are finally at a cool down point for the North Texas area. August is brutal and we are past that point, and now we are heading into cooler temps. Now when I say cooler temps, it's still going to be in the 90s and sometimes the high 90s, but we will be out of that consistently triple digit temperature day after day. And with that in mind, there are several projects that I want to get after. Now one of them is this right here, and if you've been following along with my channel for a little while, you know that I started a whole bunch of flowers for my fall garden from seed earlier this summer, and they are beautifully coming to fruition. This burgundy cascade is ridiculous. This is a double Valentine petunia. These double purple or blue petunias are gorgeous. Oh my gosh, they're just looking so good. My coleus is stunning. This is my coleus. So exciting. So basically, we're finally having enough of a cool down that I can start getting these planted outside. And that is going to be one of the first things that I do for my fall garden. Okay, so with that in mind, all the things that I've grown marigolds, I've grown millet, ornamental millet grass, I've grown coleus, I've grown petunias, I've grown dichondra falls, several different things to add some color and texture to my fall garden, growing them all from seed to save me a little bit of money on the back end, and it gave me something to do during the hottest time of the summer, which was really enjoyable. So a lot of that is going to be going into front borders on the front and side garden. We're also going to be incorporating that into some containers on the front porch and tucked amongst the garden. And we're going to be adding a little bit of color on the backyard, probably the back porch containers, or in those two new raised beds that frame the beautiful trellis that I built this year. But this is just a really easy way and now inexpensive way, since I grew them from seed, to just add a lot of pops of colors instead of having to spend a couple of $100 utilizing that in there. Now, with my fall containers, I want to be very upfront that I do not use all real plants for my fall containers. A lot of times I will use some real plants and then I will mix in some faux floral as well. And it's just still usually really hot for fall, and there's a lot of things that are not available, fall plants that I would love to put in containers, but they're just not available when I want them. And so incorporating some silk florals is a really great way to have a really great punch of color for next to nothing, since I use them over multiple years. And it really kind of extends the life of my fall planters, because typically fall planters are a very short amount of time. Like if I'm getting them planted over in the next couple of weeks, they're only going to be around for about 6 to 8 weeks tops before we get our first freeze and before they all die back for the season. Okay, I have a new fall dress on that I was really excited to wear because the temperatures look so cooler. I realized that I had a tag hanging here there, so that's probably in the first part of the video. Okay, but moving on to the other things that I want to do for my fall garden, and a lot of this is what's going to be happening over the next basically 4 to 8 weeks will be the goal. And it's a time where we kind of seesaw back and forth between warm and cooler temps. And it's finally a time where I can get outside without having heat stroke from being outside, so which is really nice. So one of the next big projects I want to do is I need very much to finish up the sheet mulching that I've been doing in the backyard around that whole new area. So earlier in the year, I laid down weed barrier over our Bermuda grass, and then I topped it with layers of mulch, and some of the grass has come through. So what I've been doing is scraping back all the mulch, laying additional cardboard on top of the weed barrier, and then coming back with the mulch, which has helped significantly. And so that is one of my big goals. I probably finished 2/3 of it. So I probably have about 1/3 left. I'm hoping to employ my husband the next few days over Labor Day weekend to get that project knocked out, because truthfully, it's not a fun project. I'm over it and I'm ready to move on. Now that is a very big structural project that truthfully, I mean, yes, I'm going to see a difference, but it's not like the pretty fun project. Now, one of the other big structural projects I need to finish up is the entrance to the shade garden. And we are finally getting in cooler temps where I should be able to stain the entrance to the shade garden and install the beautiful hanging crystals that I've been waiting to do. Now, I did finally come up with a stain color, so that will be a surprise for you all. And I am going to be utilizing a battery operated paint sprayer to apply the stain, just because I don't think I have it in me to hand paint all of that lattice. Like, that's going to be really, really stinking hard. So I've got a whole plan figured out for that, just waiting for the temps to be just right so that I can go ahead and get that knocked out. And then once it is all stained, I will be installing a beautiful hanging crystals in the openings of the lattice work to really create this like amazing entrance into my shade garden. Now, once that is stained and the crystals are installed, then I can finally plant in front of the shade garden, because there's actually a small, about 2-foot deep bed, flower bed right there that is ready for me to plant up. So that is something I've been thinking about quite a bit. I really want to plant in a vine, a honeysuckle vine. I really want to plant in some perennials, and I want it to be very whimsical perennials. All of the stuff in front of the shade garden is actually going to get full sun. So it's really important that I put some really hardy stuff and some stuff that grows pretty tall, so that it can in turn cast additional shade into the shade area. So that's going to be a really fun project coming up soon. Okay, one of the other big projects that I'm going to start this fall, it is not going to be finished this fall, I think it's going to be an ongoing project that's going to take quite a while, is the back half of the backyard garden. Along the back half of my yard, I have some troughs up against a retaining wall, and kind of just neglected that area. It hasn't been an area that I've really focused on all that much, but the goal is to extend the garden out from that retaining wall. And one of the big things that I bought to start that process is a whole bunch of beautiful iris rhizomes from Shriner's Iris Gardens. And basically what I'm going to be doing is I've got some hypericum berries that are not doing very good back there. I'm going to pull those. I've got a butterfly bush that just is doing terrible back there because it just succumbs to spider mites over and over again. I'm going to pull that. And then I'm going to start tugging in some rhizomes, iris rhizomes in some different spaces tucked up against the troughs and such. The iris are not going to be like these massive main players in the future of these gardens, but they are going to be really great filler flowers. So I went ahead and purchased them, and we're going to be getting those planted out there. And then probably I'll be utilizing some spray paint to kind of mark out where I'm thinking. And then I think that I'm going to start working on small portions of that at a time. I can't do the whole length of the back part of the garden at once. I don't have it in me physically, but also monetarily. And so it really is going to consist of building a small little retaining wall, something simple, maybe something only about 2 or 3 stones high, then removing the grass, backfilling, and then beginning to plant, which is a lot. So the idea is that I will do segment at a time, perhaps maybe 4 to 6 foot segments at a time, work that area, and then, a month or 2 later, do the next area. But that'll be the overall goal, to kind of get through that within the next year to year and a half. I will be also working on drip lines back there. There'll be a lot of different things, a lot of starting a garden from nothing, which will be really nice because I'll be able to show lots of you, if you're new gardeners, or even those of you who are established gardeners, basically showing you how I start off the process beginning a brand new garden. We're also going to be doing some work on the willow tree in the back. It sustained some damage, I think, from when we had the French drain installed across the back. Some of its roots sustained some damage, and we've had such a hot, dry summer, and it has definitely suffered. It's dropped some of its leaves because it's been so hot. We ended up changing up its watering schedule so it gets a longer, deeper watering multiple times a week, but it does need some maintenance. It has some dead branches that need to be cut out and trimmed up. It has some long branches that are all the way to the ground that need to be lifted up so that my mowers can get through that area. We also need to treat the willow tree for borers, which is definitely an issue that it runs into sometimes. So we'll be treating it for that. And then what I really want to do is kind of get the lay of the land underneath the willow tree. Eventually underneath the willow tree is going to be an entire garden, and it's going to be a shade garden over time. But at this point in time, I just haven't gotten to it. Solving that drainage issue was a big thing, a big step towards dealing with everything behind at the back of the garden, which is why I haven't dealt with it before now. I've had a couple of people ask, why did you just put the troughs in the back of the garden? Why didn't you have an established garden? Well, one of the things is my garden is only about 7 or 8 years old. Like, it's not very old. And I started with nothing in the backyard, not one tree, not one garden, absolutely nothing in the backyard. And so what you see now is what I have built over that time. With that being said, I build on a budget and I build with the amount of time that I have. And solving the drainage issue was a big step, because typically the back half of the yard is just so wet all the time. Literally, you walk back there and you just sink. It's literally, there's just this massive issue all the time, which is why I don't want to go back there to garden. So it'll be really nice that we've kind of wrapped up that issue, and now I can move forward with beginning to create what I see in the backyard, which my ultimate goal is to have no grass in the backyard. I don't want any grass. I want all gardens. That will be the ultimate goal. My dogs don't seem to care. They just they go to the bathroom on the mulch, and I clean it up on the mulch. That's kind of just how it's ended. They don't really care. So that is the ultimate goal over time, just to have all these beautiful pathways and lots of gardens where I can just really walk through the space, have a really peaceful experience, and really enjoy building on that space for the years to come. One of the other really big jobs that I will be working on towards the end of the fall is doing some pruning and cleaning up. But then once that's done, going through and top dressing my gardens with compost, just a great quality compost. I like to use Vital Earth that I get from Homegrown in Farmersville, but basically adding a couple of inches of compost on the tops of all of my gardens, and then also coming through and adding a layer of mulch over that. And you do that in the fall so that over the winter, that compost can really start working its way into the soil, releasing its nutrients, and then come spring, you have this really great soil to work with. So that will be the ultimate goal regarding that. So I really look forward to doing that. It's a thing that I typically will get to about 50% of the garden, and then I never get to the rest of the 50% regarding compost and mulch. I'll still do the best that I can. I just typically run out of either time or money and can't get to all of it. But I do remember the stuff that I did last year, so I'm going to start with the other gardens that I did not do last year. I'm going to start with those to make sure they're at least amended every other year. Another big thing that I've been wanting to do is deal with all of my pots and containers. I have a beautiful collection of pots and containers, lots of gorgeous terracotta, just lots of pots I've collected over the years. A lot of them are stacked up on the side because I don't really have a location to utilize them. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to lay out some areas tucked amongst the raised beds in the backyard, and I'm wanting to lay down gravel in those places, and then create basically potted gardens, a collection of pots, anywhere from 7 to 12 pots in one location, all hooked up to drip and all with the beautiful plants in them over time. Now, the idea for this fall is that I'll be creating those spaces with those pots, and they're not necessarily potting up plants in those pots at this point in time. That's probably something that I'll deal with in the spring, or I might be planting some things like bulbs, some fall planted bulbs would be really fun to put in some of those pots, not all of them, but some of them. But that is the ultimate goal regarding that. And once I can get those pots off my back porch and off the side of the garden, it kind of opens up another space. Basically, all of my projects are really like a domino effect, right? I've got multiple projects, and even though I really want to do this project over here, I have to do this, 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 and this before I can get to the next one. So really, after I knock down that first domino, then the second and the third, and it's just going to be a snowball effect, getting lots of things done in the garden. And that's kind of how it's always been for me regarding my gardening journey, because my garden is a newer garden. It's not an established garden, and it's a garden that is continually changing right now. I continually have to add infrastructure where there was nothing there prior. So that's something. I'm also continuing to learn about my environment, my space regarding light and water and heat. And then also I'm learning a lot regarding drainage, especially in my backyard. My front and side gardens are very well established at this point, and I am going to continue to add additional things for them, but those gardens are doing great. It's really the back garden that I really have to work towards. I definitely saw a massive change in my garden during the worst time of the summer this year compared to past summers. Typically in past summers, my garden was brown and dead and everything was gone. This summer was the first summer in quite a while where I had quite a bit of color because I had made smart choices regarding perennials and very particular annuals such as lantana to put into my garden for the hottest times of the year. So you can really see that it really is about learning over time. I hear a lot from beginner gardeners. They're like, oh my gosh, your garden's so beautiful. That must have taken forever. Yes and no. I don't have a beautiful 20-year-old garden, you know, that's been well established. It was a garden with nothing, you know, total blank slate, not even a tree in the garden. I should put up some pictures of what it originally looked like. I have some pictures of my daughter planting some plants when we first, let's see, we moved in right before Christmas. So that first spring, like in March or April, planting some plants in the front yard, and y'all would just die. I'll put up some pictures. But for beginner gardeners, it's really important to remember gardening is not a one and done. It is, even though there is some instant gratification, gardening is a journey, right? And your garden is going to be this journey over time. And it's continually going to change, but it's going to evolve and become bigger and more lush and beautiful. And you're going to be able to learn how to edit, removing things that you don't like, understanding what needs to be added in regards of your water situation or your heat or your climate. You just learn so much about your garden every season. And so that's one thing I always try to emphasize to beginner gardeners. Don't watch these YouTube channels and be like, oh, my garden looks nothing like that. Yeah, a lot of them have been doing this for a while. And 7 to 8 years sounds like a long time, but that's actually a very young garden, right? So it's important to remember that it takes a long time to establish gardens. And coming up with lists like what I'm talking about with all these projects are just, like I said, part of the domino effect to continue going in the right direction with my garden so that I can get to some of the even more fun projects that I've been looking forward to the future. Okay, and then the last big thing on my list for my fall garden is actually my Halloween porch. Now, I am really into Halloween. My mother's birthday is Halloween, and so Halloween was a big deal in our house growing up, and my mother always decorated when people didn't decorate for Halloween. She decorated. And so I, in turn, love Halloween. I actually love it a little bit more than fall. I know, don't come at me. But I absolutely love Halloween, and I love to do a lot of projects, typically DIY, budget-friendly projects for my front porch. And last year I did some really cool stuff, which I'm looking forward to building on. This year my focus is continuing to create kind of a witch's cottage laboratory kind of feel. So old brooms and collections of seed and moss and potions and kind of that whole styling and effect. And I really like that feel for my front porch. Halloween is huge in our neighborhood. We have thousands of people, I should say, thousands of people come through for Halloween trick-or-treating. And so my house is at a corner and it gets a lot of traffic. And so I really love to have some fun details for kids and families to experience. So I'm really excited about that. I also love to do it for myself and for my kiddos. So I've got a couple of cool things I'm going to do. I'm going to do a broom storage area. I'm going to be making some brooms utilizing stuff from my own garden and yard. I'm going to be working on a very cool witch's wreath utilizing recycled items and thrifted items on a very inexpensive budget, and really just kind of utilizing a lot of my decor collection that has been thrifted and collected over the years. I don't typically buy a lot of fresh Halloween decor each year. I'll buy, one or two pieces. I use a lot of what I've found over time, just because I think it gives it more of a little bit of an authentic look, which is something I love about Halloween. I like spooky season and fall and witchy vibes. I don't go for the horror. and I also don't go for the cutesy. I kind of am right in the middle, but I'm really excited to do that. And those of y'all who've been following me for years, you know how much I love myself a Halloween fall porch. So I'm really looking forward to getting that started as well. All right, you all, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Different than what I had originally planned. Originally, we were going outside and doing a bunch of pruning, and we were planting up a juniper tree in a pot to create a topiary. So that'll be in another video next week. But with the rain, I couldn't get out there. And then truthfully, I ended up just sitting and watching the rain for a while. It's just so glorious and lovely. And I'm very happy to have that interruption. Very, very happy to have that. So anyway, I did today's video instead. So I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing what my goals for my fall garden are. I am interested to hear what your goals for your fall garden are. I am in the North Texas area. It's still kind of hot here. A lot of my northern gardener friends, you guys are already hitting fall, right? You've got your pumpkins, you're getting your mums, you're getting going. So I'd really love to hear what a lot of y'all are doing. And then of course, people in my area, I would love to hear what your plans are, because we still have 10 to 12 weeks of growing time here in the North Texas area, which is very exciting. All right, y'all, as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and that you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.